We're continuing in Torah Aleph in Likutay, the first chiluk. Keisha Israeli tzarich tamid listakel basichel shel kol davar ulekasher atzmo el hachma vasichel sheyesh b'chol davar. Because the Jewish person has to look into the intelligence that's inside of everything and to connect himself to the chachma and the seichel sheyesh b'chol davar. In order that the intelligence that's inside every object, every item, or everything that happens should shine to him. Now, at this point, there are a number of different ways of explaining these words here. There's some who try to explain that it's talking about understanding the the scientific seichel, with intelligence that everything is built up of, that everything is made up of, different form and different aspects, like scientific aspects of, let's say, an eye. If you look at it, so you see the wondrous aspects of creation, how complex it is and how deep it is, and how even the simplest animal has an eye, and how everything works so amazingly. And there's seichel in there. Hashem created that with seichel. Hashem created the world with tremendous seichel. If a person looks at anything, everything is made up of atoms and molecules and all these things, and there's tremendous seichel that's built into, and that the world is created with, and that the world has inside of it. People study the tiny one atom. They study one type of atoms for their whole life. One type of particle of it, part of an atom. For their whole life, they could study these things. They just built one of the biggest science experiments, some billions and billions of dollars. I'm not sure how much, like super large science experiment in France, to smash two photons, I think, together in a super fast way, so that close to the speed of light, so that they could look at particles that are smaller than atoms. They're like certain types of, I don't understand it completely, but some very, very small type of particles that they hope will teach them something about the depths of the creation. So they understand that the world is built with tremendous depth, and there is intelligence there. There's intelligence that a person could learn and a person could understand. There's a pattern, and there's a method, and that's intelligence. That's one aspect. Again, that aspect, if you explain the Rebbe to be trying to speak about these things, it's a little bit hard to explain why you have to attach yourself to the seichel. But if you do want to take this explanation, you'd have to say attach yourself to the seichel of Hashem that He puts inside of it. You can't say that you're attaching yourself to the scientific intelligence that's inside of everything. That the clearest understanding of what this is saying, that you have to attach yourself to the seichel that's in everything, is that inside of everything is not just scientific seichel, that Hashem for sure did create the world with, and it's a sign that Hashem is intelligent, since Hashem did create this thing, and this thing it has intelligence, has complexity, and intricacy and depth. But a person has to connect with the seichel, the ruchnius that's inside of it. Now, the real seichel is the hasaga, is recognition of a Kadosh Baruch Hu, and inside everything there is, inside of it, aspects, sparks of recognition of Kadosh Baruch Hu, of godliness, and this is not such a simple thing to understand. It's not such a clear thing to understand. Sometimes we see it, like for example, when you see Hashgacha Pratis. When you see Hashem's hand in the world, Hashem actually did something in a way that you could see that it was Hashem. And it was a real, not necessarily a nace, but it was something that you could see godliness there. So there, you're able to look, you're able to be mistakel on the seichel. The real seichel is godliness. Real seichel is recognition of Hashem. There's nothing else that's actually true, complete seichel in this world. Because you see, there are people that biggest scientists, and they're kofar in Hashem, and their seichel cannot be considered seichel at all. Their intelligence is not considered intelligence at all. When in the end of the day, with all their intelligence, they're going to end up in possibly the deepest parts of Gehenna. That it would be very hard to define that as intelligence if their intelligence brought them to such horrible depths. So the only real intelligence is coming close to Hashem and recognizing Hashem. So this is the seichel that the Rebbe here is speaking about, and this is what a person has to attach himself to and has to come close to at all times. Sometimes we see it through hashgacha pratis, and sometimes we could see the revelation of a Kodesh Baruch Hu's godliness inside even an item or even an aspect through the study of Kabbalah mainly, through the study of the Rebbe's Torah specifically, and through searching. When a person searches, here he says. Here he says we're going to get to it, I guess, a place where he says the person has to search for the seichel. Okay. I don't know if he says it right here. He says it in other places. He says a person has to search and be miyageh. You have to look for the seichel, and when you look for it, you will find it because it's there. Now, once you find it, then the seichel will shine to you, will enlighten your way. And it will help you come close to Hashem. And you'll be able to come close to Hashem through that thing. So, when a person, let's take food for example, a very simple example. So, a person looks at food, what real seichel, what real godliness is there in that food? So, there are a number of things. There's the koach that it gives him to serve Hashem, and there's the taste. There's the that also arouses his mind and his body to be able to serve Hashem. It's the type of energy that comes into him, the pleasure that he's able to think Hashem with. When a person is totally dead, he feels nothing. He doesn't enjoy anything. Nothing hurts him. So then it's hard for him to come with islavus and with enjoyment to Hashem. When a person eats something, and he gets tremendous enjoyment, he could take that enjoyment, and he could thank Hashem with it. That is finding the seichel that's inside this enjoyment. Because this enjoyment is not given to him just to sit back and enjoy for enjoyment's sake. He's finding the seichel, which is the sparks of holiness inside of that, and he's attaching himself to the sparks of holiness inside the taste. He's not attaching himself to the physicality of the taste, and through that, he's actually able to come closer to Hashem. And same thing with the energy that it gives a person when a person eats the food. So it nourishes his soul. The Rebbe speaks about this in detail in other places, that it's the sparks inside the food that nourish a person more than the actual food. The actual food is not the main thing that nourishes a person, but actually the sparks of godliness and holiness that's inside the food. And when a person eats that food, he digests spiritually and physically, digests this food, and the spirituality of the food he connects to and he attaches himself to, and he should be able to serve Hashem with that food. Especially if it's kosher, and especially if you made a bracha, all these things help. The Rebbe explains this in detail, also in Likutay Halachos. The Rebbe Nosson elaborates on these topics. Now, keseichel or gadol, because the intelligence is a tremendous light, and it shines from in all of his ways. The wisdom of a man will light up his face, and the Rebbe's darshan, it'll light up in front of him. If a person has wisdom, a person has intelligence, a person is always looking and finding the wisdom and the depth of the seichel, the godly seichel that's in everything, so then everywhere he goes, his world will be lit up. Now, also on a simple sense, this is on a very spiritual sense, on high madriga, of people recognizing godliness everywhere, but also as a mashal, also in a very simple sense, when a person is a wise man, he knows what to do at all times. The path is clear in front of him, and he knows where not to step into what holes, because he could see very clearly. This vision comes through his wisdom. So when a person is very wise and he knows how to go about complex business deals and makes sure that nobody could trick him and makes sure he's protected on all sides, so this is wisdom and intelligence that he has, and it shines his way for him. It shines his pathway for making this business deal. That's on a business sense. And in Ruchnius, the way the Rebbe is speaking about here, the person has seichel. He has seichel of Ruchnius. He has akara, he has recognition of godliness, and he's able to connect himself to this godliness in the things that happen to him, and in the objects that he sees and relates to in his life, like food or things like other things that he uses in his life, and he relates to those things and he connects it directly to Kadosh Baruch Hu. And this is his wisdom that lights him up in all of his ways. If a person, for example, is experiencing tremendous tsaros, and let's just take financial tsaros for example, financial difficulties, and he has tremendous financial difficulties. So where he only finds his darkness, his whole life is dead. When a person finds that really these financial difficulties are bringing him to daven to Hashem a lot more and to come much closer to Hashem, so he finds and he attaches himself to that closeness and he brings it out and he works on it, coming closer to Hashem with all of his difficulties, then he finds that there's tremendous seichel that Hashem put inside of these tzaros that he gave him. This seichel he's attaching to, the seichel is recognition. The recognition is a type of das that a person has in his mind, and he's attaching himself to this das, and this das he's using to come closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He's coming closer to Hashem and bring himself up, and this is what shines his way. And through this, he knows that his whole pathway is all light and there is no darkness. So this is one aspect of what the Rebbe is saying here, that the seichel is or gadol. When a person has this das and recognition that everything is for his best, then it's a very great light, and it shines in all of his ways. Just for example, a person who, let's say, needs a surgery, if he realizes that this surgery is, he might need to take, let's say, get a leg amputated, so when he recognizes that this surgery is for his benefit and it's very good for him, so it won't be so difficult and so hard for him as much as if he were to be grabbed by some evil people and they were to rip off his leg. It's a lot easier when he sees the seichel, when he sees the goodness, when he sees the wisdom inside of what's going on with him. And when he does that, his light, comparatively to someone who doesn't see this, his path that he's going on is much more bright and much more illuminated. So it's specifically through wisdom that a person has an illuminated path. Now this is Yaakov, this recognition and this wisdom. Ki Yaakov zachal b'chor, because Yaakov merited the b'chor, the firstborn, the rights of the firstborn, shu reshis, and the firstborn is the first. First is reshis, shu b'chinas chachma, which is the b'china, the aspect of chachma, the aspect of wisdom. Reshis, b'chor, and Yaakov are all b'china of the same b'china of wisdom. As it says that Reish Chachma is Reshis, because it says Reshis Chachma. And this is also what it means that when Esav went to Yitzchak and asked for the bracha after Yaakov already took the bracha, so Yitzchak told Esav that the bracha was already given to your brother. So he screamed out, he said that he Yaakoved me twice. Like he used his name as like a nickname, as a term, which means also he tricked me, or he outwitted me, he outsmarted me. So Yaakov, we see from here that Unklus explains that Targum Unklus v'Chakmeni, Unklus explains that this means he outsmarted me. So we see that Yaakov is a term that could mean also smartness or wisdom. And also this intelligence is also b'chin of shemesh, because the seichel shines for him in all of his ways like the sun. And this is the b'china of the light of tzaddikim is like the light of a shining, a glow. And it gets stronger until the middle of the day. And there's also b'china of ches. The wisdom is a b'china of the letter ches, lashon chiyus, which is the lashon of chiyus. When a person has wisdom, he has life, he has chiyus. When a person never sees any purpose in anything that happens to him, all of his tsaros are totally dead, and his whole life is totally dead. He has no chiyus from anything. When a person sees and finds godliness inside of all of the things that happen to him, even tsaros, then he has life at all times. Because the chachma and the seichel, the wisdom and the intelligence, is the chiyus of everything. It's the life of everything. As it says that chachma will enliven, chachma will give life. So when a person has chachma, when a person has wisdom, then he will have life. Okay. But since the light of the seichel, the light of the intelligence is very great, it's impossible to achieve it, to attach yourself to it without the bechin of nun, without the aspect of the letter nun. Malchus, which is the concept of malchus, the sphere of malchus we're going to see, and also the union of kingship. As it says, before the sun, yanun shmo, before the sun, yanun shmo. Before the sun, you need yanun in his name. Here's Rashi, and Rashi explains that this pasuk, that the word yanun means lashon malchus. So here we see the word yanun, the word nun, which is in this pasuk, yanun, is referring to malchus. So the letter of ches is chachma, and the letter nun is malchus. Levana. And this is the concept of the moon. The moon is also the bechin of nun and the bechin of malchus, which is necessary to achieve all these bechinas before we achieve the seichel, to go through malchus. Now the moon has no light in and of itself, aside for what it receives from the sun. And malchus is the same way. It has no light in and of itself. The leislim has nothing in and of itself. Only what it receives from the ches. She bechinas chachma, bechinas shemesh, which is the bechin of chachma, and the bechin of shemesh. Bechin of chachma and the bechin of the sun. And when they're attached, when they're connected, then the light of the moon will be like the light of the sun. So here, in a simple sense, the malchus, which is the kingship, which is in order to rule. We see that a king needs advisors. A king cannot lead his country without getting proper advice. Without proper advice, he's going to make mistakes and he's going to do bad things. It's going to be very bad. So a king does not, his main thing is not being, he doesn't have to be the wisest person in the whole world. He just has to have malchus. He has to take control and he has to make the right decisions. It's not necessarily that he has to be the smartest one. He has to be able to receive the wisdom in the proper way. And if he's not able to listen to wisdom and to receive the wisdom, then he's in a big trouble. Nebuchadnezzar, he realized that he was a king. He realized that wisdom was one of the most important things for a king to rule, and he ruled over the whole world. When he took Yerushalayim, he told the people who captured Yerushalayim, told his armies to separate and to take out from the wisest of the Jewish people, and especially those who were from the family of King David, and to put them aside and to train them to be his advisors. Because a king needs advisors. A king without advisors is like a chicken without a head, so to speak, where you have a body and you could run around and do a lot of things. You could do literally whatever you want, but you don't know what to do. It's only with the king that you know what to do. And same thing with a person. A person, his heart, we're going to see in a moment, is like the king of his body. You do what you want. The question is, what should you want? And we're going to see that this one of the biggest parts of this term is describing the concept of deciding to want in your heart, to want wisdom, to want to listen to what the wisdom tells you. A king should be wanting to listen to what his advisors say and to listen very closely and to do what makes most sense from what his advisors are saying. And not to say, I don't really care about my advisors, I'm going to do whatever I want. If a person goes in that way, then he's literally, again, a chicken without a head, and he's going without any wisdom. And this is why Malchus has no light in and of itself. Malchus is the kingship itself. The rulership itself has no intelligence in and of itself. What its main intelligence is to receive from the wisdom, is to receive from the wise people who are advising him. And here in particular, a person's heart, which is the king of his body, should listen to the mind, which is his advisors, and to follow his advisors. When he does that, then he will attain the ultimate state, which is going to be also time Mashiach. The light of the moon will be like the light of the sun. The light of the moon means the light of the kingship will be strong, and will be receiving completely from the wisdom of its advisors, from the wisdom of Chachma. And same too with a person's heart. The person's heart will receive completely from the mind. And now when a person knows something, unfortunately, there's a large separation between the mind and the heart. A person could know that smoking is bad, but very, very hard for him to stop smoking. It's because his mind does not completely subjugate himself his heart does not completely subjugate himself to his mind, and therefore the heart has desires of its own and is not muvatl himself, does not nullify himself to the mind, and therefore the light does not go completely into the heart. The heart doesn't receive most of the light of the sun, the light of the mind, and this is what will be fixed in the future, that the mind and the heart will be united. Specifically, the mind will be able to shine and to show the heart, and the heart will listen. And also in a physical sense, on a cosmic sense, the sun will actually shine onto the moon, and the moon will be as bright as the sun. Not like it is now, where the moon is a very dim light and the sun is a very small light.